sisters.
Howdy, brothers.
Welcome back to another episode of Whiskey and Water.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
We're on the bi-weekly sketch. It's working out well.
It's working out well, even though it's a Saturday.
It's literally Saturday at noon.
That's okay. You guys are going to get like the most updated, recent version of our lives today. Mm-hmm. That's the pro of doing things last minute.
Let's do a little catch up, a little high and low moments. Brothers, we are really in... We actually said this last episode, like afterwards. We were like, we have to stop saying era. But
Era.
whatever. We're in our era.
Oh my God. Wait, I saw a TikTok. Do you know what the millennial pause is? This is a big deal, okay? Because I sent it to you on TikTok. You must not have opened it yet. Guys, there is something called a millennial pause. And just you saying era made me think about it because I'm like... You know, we're just trying to keep up with the times. We're like on the...
Trying to say youthful.
We're zillennials. So, you know, we're on the cusp of the millennial and Gen Z. But I personally like to identify as Gen Z. However, it's so funny, like, coming across things on TikTok where it's like, you just know if someone is a Gen Z or a millennial by, like, little nuances. So I came across this thing called the millennial pause. It's a thing, okay? And it's like the 1 second... that someone takes before they start talking. So it's like the second between they hit record and then they start talking. And apparently only millennials do it. And I had a freaking midlife crisis yesterday when I was like, do I do this?
Wait, that's so interesting.
And people were making content about it. Like if you look up hashtag millennial pause and it's like Gen Zers being like, stop doing that. Why do you do that? Like if we can just tell that you're millennial if you do that.
I think it's because, yeah, like if we go to do a TikTok, we'll like hit the record button and then take a second.
Yeah.
But personally,
Gen Z doesn't do that.
I don't think I do it either.
Because apparently we're like waiting to see if it's recording. But how funny.
That is interesting. Because what I do is like I'll start recording and then I'll talk while I like set my phone down.
Yeah. Then you're good. Then you're a Gen Zer.
See? But that's also something that I observed and that's why I do that. I don't do that because like
that's how you naturally do it. Yeah. You guys, it's hard out here keeping up with the times.
Keeping up with the times.
I'm feeling old. Anyways, we are in our what era?
We're in our era. But
era.
Personally, for me, I'm in my like I like go through these phases where like I hate everything in my home like once a year.
I thought you were gonna say life. I'm like same best day, same.
Yeah, that too. But I like hate all my decor. I hate all my pieces. I hate everything. So now I'm like trying to get rid of everything and replace everything. But like that's an expensive fucking process.
It's just a long drawn out process.
And then it's like by the time I replace everything, I don't even like it.
You're sick of it. That's how I feel about my wedding planning. Like I've told you guys before, like I made a Pinterest board after I got engaged in 2019 and I look back at that and I hate everything. I'm like, barf. So now I'm just scared because I'm like, no matter what I do, I'm just going to hate it in 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, I think that what I really don't like about my house is just like my house in general. Like, I think I'm like blaming it on my pieces when I think that if it was like in my ideal home or space, that I would actually like it.
Space is so important.
Dude, it's so fucking important.
Not us going off on a tangent. Okay, anyways, you guys, let's catch up. Let's do a high and low. And then do we want to tell the brothers what this episode is even going to be about?
Yeah, I think we should.
Okay.
You know, as you guys know, we frame every episode around whatever the fuck is going on in our lives. And this episode, we're going to be talking about adult friendships and really just how to navigate those. And I feel like, you know, as we grow older, what we seek in friendships changes so much. And then what we also, our threshold for what we're willing to accept also changes. So we just kind of want to talk about that process and kind of what that's like looked like. And it's, you know, it's really nice for us because obviously we share like 99% of the same friends and we're able to like, you know, kind of take inventory of like our friends' actions and be like, oh, are you feeling like that? Are we feeling like that?
Yeah.
Or am I just being sensitive? Yeah. Or is this person kind of being a shitty friend? And, you know, we understand that can be hard for someone who is their own entity to, kind of navigate.
It's not what is it? Not a sole proprietorship, but what are we? A partnership?
An LLC.
No, like I guess.
An LLC of a friendship.
Yeah.
But we are going to kind of just deep dive on that, what we've been going through, and just things that we've kind of noticed as we've grown.
Yeah.
Fucking older.
Yeah, just kind of some like non-negotiables and holding friendships and just relationships, obviously in general in your life, to the same standard that we would a romantic relationship. And like, you hear people often talk about like, what are your non-negotiables for a romantic partner? And it's like, we should have those same standards for like any relationship in our life, especially friendships, because they are so important.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, even in my adult life, other than you and like maybe my friend Tamir and then the girls that we,
well, when you said you, are you talking to me?
You, yeah.
Okay, I thought you were really talking to the brothers.
Oh no, my brothers
like,
you guys are my best friends, but no, like because especially when planning my wedding, like I'm looking at my guest list and I'm like, I really don't have that many friends, like not people who I would consider my close circle. And it's just interesting because like personally, I didn't really have the whole college experience. And I feel like that's where a lot of people make those like lifelong friendships. So for someone who didn't go through that experience, like my circle is pretty damn small. And
Tight circle.
I'm fine with that, but it's just interesting to look back and be like, wow, I really haven't made like really close friendships in the past 5-10 years of my life. And I don't know if that's because I do have, a high standard of like, yeah, if you're not like checking these boxes for me, I'm really not interested in nurturing a relationship with you. Or if it's just like, the industry we're in and it's a lot of kind of like surface level friendships, but it's just an interesting observation. So we'll deep dive into all of that. But before we get started, of course, we're going to do our segments, our highs and lows, and our pro tip.
Let's knock out our pro tip.
Pro tip. Okay. Do you want me to go first or shall you?
You can go first.
Okay. So my pro tip, and this is a literal like life pro tip, game changer. I am not exaggerating when I say that. If you don't know what a supercharger is, brothers, let me put you on. Y'all need to invest in a supercharger. What this is an iPhone charger that instead of it being a USB to your phone, it's like the lightning. Like
it's USB-C.
USB-C. Or no, is that the one to the phone? What's the one to the phone called? I think it's a lightning to a USB-C.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's like what you would charge your laptop with on one end, and then the other end is for your phone. And then the box is just a little wider. You can order them on Amazon. You can get Apple. You can get
a storefront.
Yeah, I shot my storefront. But guys, I kid you not, it charges your phone from 0 to 100 in an hour. And my life just isn't the same since that. I like can go all night without plugging in my phone, and I can wake up and just know that it will be charged. And it's just the best thing ever. When I was in Nashville, I was telling my friend Erica about it, and we charged, both of our phones were dead, and she plugged hers into her normal charger and I plugged mine into my supercharger, and I was at 100 in an hour and she was at like 30. And I was like, girl, you gotta get on it. It's so much more convenient. I know this is like a first world dilemma and problem, but knowing that my phone can be charged in an hour is like the fucking move.
Dude, even an hour, I feel like is a long time.
No, like 30 minutes. Yeah. No, I'm saying from 0 to 100, maybe an hour. But like if your phone's on,
time my phone was on 0.
Yeah, if it's on like, 20% and just plug that baby in for 15 minutes, you are good to go for the rest of your day. Shop my storefront. I will add it.
Dude, they need to make an actual good fucking portable charger. There's no really solid portable charger that like lasts.
Yeah.
We should make it.
We should make it. It doesn't exist. We'll make it.
That's how we feel about everything. Okay. My pro tip is one that I actually saw from JC Marie. She's the host of What We Said podcast.
Love her.
We love her. So like how if you're taking, if you want to take a video while you're playing music, you can, slide the button over to like lock it. And when you're on photo, and it'll continue to play your music, and you just kind of take video from there. I didn't realize that in that same setting, you can continue to press that button in the bottom right, and it'll take photos while you're taking the video.
What?
Yeah, brother.
Hold up.
Yeah, let's give this a go.
Hold up. Wait. Okay, so I'm You have to play something though, right? You have to play music.
No, we don't have to necessarily. But like, let's say we take it from the photo. Oh shit.
Oh God.
And we drag it over. Okay, so we just dragged it over. Look, I'm taking photos.
Wow, it's recording?
I think so.
How do you know?
Well, that's what JC said.
Well, we're Mythbusters, you guys.
Yeah, look, I was taking photos that entire time. It didn't look like it, so I just kept taking a million. But yeah,
so
I was taking
photos. Take photos while you're recording a video.
Yeah, which is fire because what I actually did, I was literally at the beach the other day and I had my tripod and I took a quick video. Guys, I went and took screenshots of that video and the quality like wasn't nearly as good. But what you can just do is have someone, take the video and just press it.
Innovation that excites you guys.
You truly love to see it.
This is revolutionary. Oh my God. Wow, I don't think anyone knows that.
Yeah, I'm going to make a TikTok about it.
That is so fire. Okay, great pro tips today.
Hell yeah, brothers.
Honestly, we're just tech girlies.
Tech girlies.
Okay, let's get into our high and low. Let's start with our lows. You go.
My low, I kind of touched on it earlier, is that I'm just like literally hating my house.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like really claustrophobic in this house. Like every room is so, and of course, like this is a very privileged take, but every room in this house is like inconveniently small, like small by I think many people's standards, not like a New York City standard, but for a South Florida house standard, it is very small. Each closet is genuinely like the size of a fucking shoebox. Like they are like I've maxed out every single closet, which is crazy because in my last apartment that I didn't even fill up a single closet. Like I had like a fairly large, like kind of like walk-in sort of vibe that most apartments, newer apartment buildings kind of have. And I hadn't even filled up those closets, which is crazy because then I come here and I'm busting out of each of them. And it's really, really hard to like get organized in a space that doesn't have storage. And I have this entire sort of like dining room nook that is in my house that I don't use because it's basically storage. Like that's where I keep all my random shit. So I'm just kind of like annoyed and it's like hard for me to like want to put like clothes away because it's like I know I'm going to be shoving it into a drawer that's already full and like it's just kind of an icky feeling and I realize that it's causing me to be disorganized in everything else. And then like
dude, space, going back to our conversation earlier, space is so important.
So important.
It is like, it really affects my mental health so much. And I don't realize it in the moment, but it's like, looking back, I am just the happiest version of myself when my house is clean and organized. I feel like I'm living my dream life when my house is clean.
Yep.
Like it is that dramatic.
Yeah, it really is. And like even in my office right now to the left of me, I just have like a pile of clothes and like I just haven't wanted to put them away because I don't have anywhere to necessarily put them. Yeah. And it's like, oh, well, you can get rid of more shit. But like, I can only get rid of so much shit. I like my stuff. And even I was talking to, my boyfriend about this. And he was like,
your what?
Boyfriend.
Okay.
I was talking to my boyfriend about this.
Okay.
And he was like, well, like, do you like need all of this stuff? And I was like, don't ask me stupid fucking questions. I was like, one, of course I don't need it. I was like, that's a loaded question because like no one needs anything, dog. Like no one needs it. Like, no, I don't need anything. However, do I look at something and it sparks joy? Like 100%. And I'm going to keep it. And I don't feel like my lack of like, I'm not going to get rid of shit because I have a lack of space when like my clothes aren't the problem. The space is the problem. And he was like, well, do you need these really thick combat boots? And I was like, the once a year that I might wear those to a festival or to club space when I maybe one day will go. Yes, I need them. And if I don't have them, I will literally shoot myself in the foot because I'll be like, why did I get rid of those? And
you'll shoot yourself in the foot that you could have wore your combat boot over.
Yeah, that I got rid of because I like didn't have space. And it's like that's a fear mindset. Because it's like one day I will have all the space and the biggest closet in the world to put all of my fun vintage items. So that's my low.
She's spiraling, y'all.
That's my low.
No, because I literally, those combat boots, like for me, my combat boots that I stared at for a year, I wore them all week in Nashville. So
that's
I'm telling you.
What I'm saying,
I'm telling you.
dog.
I didn't wear them once before that trip. I brought them to Nashville. I wore them every night. They were the perfect boot.
That's what I'm saying.
So it's like,
And like if I...
Game time decisions. You got to make them.
And if I didn't have those and like I thought to myself like, oh, I got rid of these because my boyfriend told me that I needed to get rid of more stuff, I swear to God, I'd break up with him on the spot. I'd be like, you're the reason I don't have that perfect boot right now.
Okay, moving on. What were we?
Do your low.
Lows. Okay, my low is that that I came back from vacation this week and I had a mental breakdown because
we were actually having simultaneous
at the same time
mental breakdowns, which is really cool.
Our
Yeah.
mental breakdowns are in sync. Periods in sync? No. Mental breakdowns in sync. So it was one of those like when you come home from vacation, it's like the vacation is so good and peaceful, and then you come home and it's reality. And I feel like most people would be like, oh, but you're like an influencer and blah blah blah, and it's like you're not coming home to like 9 to 5, but it's like
we're coming home to
just so much more
8 to fucking 11, brother.
so much more. And it was just like a really hard first day back, and I completely like just cried on my couch, and I was like, I don't want to do any of it. I want to retire. I want to live on a farm. I want to garden. I want hobbies. I want to learn how to play the drums.
You know what's really interesting?
I just simply want to retire.
How to play the drums. No, you don't.
I just want to be a housewife. Like, make me a housewife.
Like,
I'm ready. I'm ready.
I want to like DIY shit in my backyard all day.
I'm done being a hustle girly, y'all.
Yeah, truly. Which is, you know, what's really interesting about something that you just said that kind of like, you know, piqued my interest was you were like, oh, well, you're an influencer. Like, you're supposed to come home. You know what's crazy is that like we literally do everything else besides influencing, and we don't like say that's what we do. You know, like if someone else, like, you know, we have friends that own marketing agencies. Guess what they do? They're a marketing agency owner. Like that's how they introduce themselves. They don't introduce themselves like as something else. And it's like we literally own a digital marketing agency.
It's just so hard to say everything we do.
Well, so no, of course, but it's like anyone that like knows you, it's like, no, you're not just coming home and like being an influencer, which is, you know, of course that is a full-time job in and of itself. And, you know, if you run it like a business, it is a business, but it's like, we have so much else going on that it's like, no, we're not just coming home to be an influencer. We're coming home to like running a digital marketing agency and, you know, launching a course and having the podcast and, you know, all these other little things that we have to do as well.
And being full-time influencers.
So I think you're doing yourself a disservice by saying that.
No, yeah, for sure. It was more so like from an outsider's perspective who like had no idea who I am and what I do would from the outside be like, oh, me, pity party, like feel bad for yourself. But that's not like my perspective on my life.
Yeah, because we got so much. Like being an influencer, like my brand deals are like
that's the easiest thing we do.
Bottom of my to-do list.
That's the easiest thing we do.
But let's go into our highs.
We are really
need a morale boost.
This is why we can't do Saturday episodes. We're just like
all over the place,
spiraling.
These are my favorite episodes, I will be honest though.
Okay, so my high is that I did have such a fun time in Nashville. Honestly, considering it was like the first group trip of that friend group, everything went so smoothly. There was no drama. Like things just really, we just had such a great fucking time. We were laughing every day, all day. Like
those are the best trips.
At a vineyard, shoes off, running through the grass, doing handstands. Like it was just so great.
You were definitely the only one doing handstands.
No, me and Mike.
I'm kidding.
I was
of course
teaching
it was Mike.
Yeah. And yeah, we just have such funny memories and jokes from that trip, and it just felt really good. And it feels nice to like travel with friends that you, for the first time, that you like haven't had that experience with, you know? So it was great. And honestly, I'm just very happy with the trip and memories to last a lifetime.
Yeah. Having a trip where you laugh so much, like you really, like you just can't put a price tag on it.
You cannot. And also like that group of friends, at least the guys, I've known since I've been dating Tyler. So it's been 10 years. So like those are like my close friends too.
Yeah.
And it just feels like family. So it was really fun.
I love that for you.
Yeah.
My high is that I am, even though I hate the space, I am redoing my house little by little. And I'm really finding a lot of like joy in that. Like I've been, my vanity that I built, like it didn't come with great instructions. So I didn't build things quite correctly. And one day I pulled out the drawer to like grab, you know, like whatever, like my mascara. The entire drawer drops. Like just drops to the ground. My makeup goes everywhere.
You should make TikToks of you building stuff. Because honestly, it's a thing and you need to capitalize on it.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
I mean, I can't because I'm like just keeping it together at that point.
It's like you're on a mental breakdown. Yeah, I get it.
But it like just fell. And like I let it sit there, guys, for like a month. Like I couldn't even fathom doing it. But this past like week, I've just been on like my Bob the Builder bitch shit. And I like fixed the vanity like from scratch. Like I had to like make new fucking holes. I like ordered wood glue. I was like clamping that shit down. Like I was like doing my damn thing. I'm like, I'm really out here. I did that. I built this like whole fucking cabinet for my office too and whatever. So I'm just really happy that I'm kind of like getting some solid pieces and like
she's Barb the Builder.
And yeah, I got some like new nightstands off of Facebook Marketplace for a steal. Nice. And I didn't like have matching nightstands. So like just little things like that like just bring me happiness and just kind of excited to be like elevating my space in like a bunch of little ways.
That big package at my door was my new coffee table for my patio. Because you guys, I realized, and this is like one of those things where it's like you need to ask yourself like, okay, I'm not doing this. Why am I not doing this? And a lot of times it's something so small and simple, but once you change it, you're more like for habits, you always just want to make them as easy as possible, as less barriers to entry as possible. So I was looking at my back patio. I have a decent amount of space out there and I'm like, I would love to stretch and do like a yoga flow there every morning. Why am I not doing that? And I realized it was because the coffee table was just is a little too big. So as much as I do have good space out there, like it's pretty much already taken up by furniture. And I was telling Tyler and he was like, well, why don't you just move the coffee table? And I'm like, because I don't want to do that every day and then move it back. Like that's one more thing, as simple and as small as it seems, that's one more thing preventing me from making that, like instilling that habit. So I posted the table on Facebook Marketplace. I bought a new smaller one on Amazon, and hopefully that's going to make this habit of going out there in the mornings and stretching more appealing to me. So that kind of circles back to our episode about taking inventory. Like that's a perfect example, looking at the habits in your life that you want to implement and see like, why am I not implementing them? What's holding me back? And again, no matter how small it is, like you just want to make it super, super fucking easy to look and to go and to not have anything in between. Okay, we're going to take a second and thank our show sponsors for this episode.
All right, guys. Today we're going to be telling you about a new sponsor, Lil Bucks. Lil Bucks is America's woman-owned buckwheat brand. They recently launched their snack line, Cluster Bucks, grain-free superfood clusters made from regenerative buckwheat. They contain plant-based protein and prebiotic fiber and are addictively crunchy.
Lil Bucks, America's buckwheat brand, makes crunchy snacks and toppings out of the underutilized superfood sprouted buckwheat. The company's mission is to improve American diets and soil health through the love of buckwheat. The products are uniquely crunchy and are gluten, grain-free, high in protein, fiber, and antioxidants. And the buckwheat is sourced sustainably from a trailblazing regenerative farm in Minnesota. You guys, I actually love this product. Their little snacky snacks, the clusters, are fire. It's honestly great for like, I'm hangry, I need to grab something quick that's like yummy, filling, healthy for me. And there's so many different flavors. I think I had like a cinnamon snickerdoodle one. Bomb. And then I've also been using the everything seasoning, which is like nice because it's like everything bagel seasoning, but there's a crunch to it. Oh, you guys, chef's fucking kiss. Delicious.
Yeah, they hooked it up with a package. I mean, honestly, like a little while ago. So I'm happy to like finally be doing this sponsorship because we've been trying and testing out the products for the last few months. And honestly, guys, super good. You guys know that I'm super fucking picky, but their clusters are actually so yummy. And even a picky gal like me loves it. You guys can check them out. Their website is lovelilbucks.com. And you guys can use the code BUCKS20 for 20% off. And thank you, Lil Bucks. So hopping into today's episode, again, we really like to talk about things that are currently going on in our lives. And honestly, something that we get asked about a lot as well, because people see our friendship and they want to have something like that, or they say they do. And
or they're just sucking our dick.
Yeah. They're like, oh my God, I like wish I had a friend like you. But we're going to kind of go through what our mindset is and our philosophy when it comes to friendships and even, you know, the best friendship and kind of, yeah, how we navigate these difficult conversations. And obviously starting off, communication is key. And something Olivia always says is that there's always a way to say everything. And like hard conversations are inevitable, even with the people that you get along with best. Like, arguably, Olivia and I get along better than, like, 99% of people in our lives. But that doesn't mean that we're exempt from really difficult, hard conversations. And I think that once you get comfortable having hard conversations, like speaking your truth and, like, making sure that you feel seen and heard becomes so much easier. Like, you can't shy away from having hard conversations because that's truly what strengthens relationships.
Yeah, but with that being said, it is hard to have those conversations if both sides aren't open and receptive to understanding, not taking things personally. They have to be open to hearing constructive criticism or seeing your point of view or taking accountability, because it's a two-way street. And like, we have done a full dedicated episode dedicated to like when it's worth having those hard conversations and when it's simply not, because it's not going to be worth it for everyone. You're not going to get through to everyone. But, assuming that there's people in your life who are aligned with you, who kind of just get it, they're on your wavelength, they have no problem taking accountability, those are the people you want to have these conversations with, and it's worth having with because they're going to be receptive to it.
And the people that aren't receptive to it, that's when you have to be willing to walk away from a friendship and
or just understand that like they can't meet you where you're at, and that's the type of relationship that's going to be. And, and it'll stay that way, and you either accept it
and come to terms with it.
Exactly. Or you choose to not have that person, like, as involved in your life.
Yeah. And you can also kind of decide and dictate like what sort of involvement you want someone to like have in your life, right? Like, you can decide like, oh, okay, I'm going to keep this friend at an arm's length. I'm not going to cut them off completely, but I just don't think I want to be as close as, we either have been in the past because they're, consistently letting you down or, not necessarily improving your life, or you can, again, choose to walk away from that. And I think a lot of people, don't realize that you can kind of take a step back from friendships and kind of distance yourself without completely having to like cut them off or having it be this like huge big thing. You can just decide like, yeah, you know what? Like, I think that this friendship is a lot better for us when we spend a little bit less time together, like we argue a little bit less, or, we have more things to catch up on when we do see each other, or things like that.
Yeah. And this episode topic was inspired by like a viral TikTok where, what was she saying? This girl was saying like, there's people in my life who are like the party friends. And like for a long time, I wanted them to be more than that. But I've come to a place of accepting that like some friends are in your life for that reason specifically, and they're really not meant to be more. And that's okay.
And like, I think that once you really like realize that and like take it to heart, like it like becomes so much more like fulfilling and like nice, and you don't have to force people into like different boxes in your life that they weren't meant to fill. And
you're not setting yourself up for disappointment. You're not having these unrealistic expectations of people that they should be your lifelong soulmate friend, when really they're just there for a good time. And you could love them and care about them, and you guys could have an amazing time together, but that doesn't mean that you're twin flames and soul sisters, and that's okay.
Yeah, like you meet a girl like in the bathroom of a club and you guys have like the most incredible night together ever, but then you like only ever see each other like every couple months when you like run into each other out, and you have the best fucking time, but that doesn't mean that you're like meant to be best friends.
Yeah.
You guys might remember that I spoke about it a couple weeks ago, but I did recently go through a friendship breakup, and it's really unfortunate, but at the same time, I'm genuinely at peace with it, because it's like, I know that like I did my part, I spoke my piece, and like I feel like this was like, and it really does suck. Like this is a friendship that I've had for like 6-7 years now, and it's like one of those things where like you definitely didn't think that something kind of like so insignificant could like stop the friendship, but it's like that's clearly not a me thing, it's a them thing, and like I just have to be at peace with them making that decision. But, and just to kind of give you guys a gist of what happened and kind of what led me to becoming at peace with it is that, we were all on a trip, and I'm not saying that what I did was perfect, but I had a really difficult conversation with that person. And I basically told them that they had been being a shitty friend for a good amount of time now. You know, like I let it ride. We all, like us and our friend group, we let it ride, and you know, we let that person go through what they were going through, because you know, like part of friendship is like kind of, you know, giving people grace and allowing them to be a shitty friend, but you know, also giving them the space to show up for you when it really matters. And honestly,
and counting on them to be better.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, for sure. And
like
you know,
not making excuse, like giving them grace, but also not making excuses for them.
Yeah, and dude, also part of having a healthy friendship is being able to speak your truth when someone is being a shitty friend, because you know, you deserve to have good friends that'll hear you out and be receptive. So we kind of had a sort of intervention with this friend, and we're like, hey, these are the receipts. We're worried about you. This is coming from a place of love. I was definitely aggressive with it because I had some pent up resentment over these things that had happened. And I gave this person like a very, very kind of like stern, sort of like realistic look at everything that was happening. I wasn't sugarcoating it is what was happening. I was like, hey, yeah, brother, you know, love you to death, but you're being a shitty friend. And like my friends were kind of beating around the bush, and I just had no interest in that. And I was like, listen, like, yeah, they're not going to say it, but like, you've been a shitty friend. This is exactly what you've been doing. This is how, you know, it's made us feel. And we expect better from you, and we deserve better from you. And like, we feel like, and you know, she had gotten into a new relationship, and like, we felt like that relationship was like affecting her behavior. And we also wanted to kind of like bring that to her attention and be like, hey, you know, you might be acting like this because of the relationship, you know, XYZ, we get it, but like, you know, we just want to make sure that you're seeing things clearly. And they were, you know, making like shitty decisions, not only within our friendship, but also within themselves. And, you know, once someone kind of, they're constantly asking you for advice, you're giving them advice, and they're completely going against that and like making shitty decisions in their life, and then bringing that, you know, kind of negativity and drama into your friendship every time you speak. It's like, that's not necessarily fair to your friends either. And I've been there. Like, I've been the person that, you know, made shitty fucking decisions over and over and over again. And then it was at the expense of my friends and my family around me. And, you know, there was a point where Olivia had to have a conversation with me and said, hey, don't bring this up to me anymore, because I've done my part in, you know, giving you the advice and being there for you. And if you're going to continue to choose not to take it, you have to understand that I'm going to bow out of this fight now. Like, it's, you know, you're on your own. And that was like so fucking valid. And for me, that was the point where I realized that I, you know, needed to make that change. So that's kind of where we had gotten with this friend. And, you know, during that conversation, I was also drunk. You know, just throwing that out there. Just throwing it out there. I was drunk, and, you know, I wasn't nice Jess. I was very, you know, stern, kind of like cold sort of Jess. And whatever, we got past that conversation, and, you know, we were on a trip together, and, you know, we had fun the entire rest of the weekend. I did end up apologizing the next day because I realized I knew that I was just a little bit harsher than what was necessary. And I, you know, apologized the next day. I was like, hey, what I said was, I apologize for how I said it. I don't apologize for what I said, because I could have said it a lot nicer, but what needed to be said was said. And when I said that, you know, this person was being a shitty friend, like, could I have worded that differently? For sure. But was the content of what I was saying true? Yes. And they were like, no, dude, like, you're good, whatever, for sure. And also, like, if you're gonna be friends with like me or, you know, anyone, you also have to understand, you know, who they are at their core. And if you know, you when you like sign up to be a friend with to be someone's friend, and you've been friends with them for this long, you understand how to kind of take certain things with a grain of salt, or not get offended when they are who they are. You feel me? And it's like, I'm not going to make excuses for, you know, whatever behavior if it hurts someone's feelings. But at the same time, like, you know who I am, and you know I'm looking out for you, and I have your best interests in mind. And even if I'm not saying it, you know, the most sugar-coated way, like, I'm still gonna fucking say it. And I'm sorry, but it's like what you need to hear. So you also have to understand that you're like signing up for that. So we had the rest of the weekend, and like, you know, we realized that in the group chat, this person was like talking a lot less. I brought it up to their attention. She ended up leaving the group chat one day, like didn't say anything, just like left the group chat. I immediately made a new group chat with all of us. And I was like, hey, what did you mean to leave the group chat? Because like, I didn't even realize anything had been wrong because they hadn't communicated it. And essentially they sent this like really long text about how they felt like wronged on our trip and everything. And this was like months later, guys. And I was like, oh shit, like didn't even realize that we were still on this or that you felt that way. But unfortunately, for the last few months, they had been, you know, had this growing resentment, which, you know, leads us to this kind of whole non-negotiables of friendship and kind of realizing that someone who can communicate when they feel like they've been hurt or wronged has to be a non-negotiable, because I can't read your mind, dude. Like, we had been kind of in the chat, like nothing had been wrong. Like, yes, they had been a little bit more distant, but, you know, they're also, they have life going on and a bunch of different things. So it's like, you know, I didn't realize that I had to reach out again and, you know, re-apologize, or that they still felt wronged because they didn't communicate that. So I never really got my opportunity to fully apologize or hear them out because they had just chosen to end the friendship without communicating, essentially.
Yeah, and there's a lot to unpack there, but I think like the most important thing is that like for us, a non-negotiable is if you're feeling some type of way, you need to communicate and not let it build up as resentment. And like I feel like I'm constantly giving that advice to people of like, they'll come to me and be like, oh, you know, like they're upset with a friend for doing something. And then they're just like, yeah, like, isn't that shitty? And I'm like, yeah, aren't you gonna bring it up? Like, why hold on to that negative energy within yourself? And then why not choose to progress your friendship even further? Like, because honestly, moments like that and having those hard conversations is what builds a strong friendship. You cannot have a bulletproof friendship if there's no like bullets getting thrown at the relationship. So you have two decisions to make. You can either ignore it, not reach out, not confront. And I think a lot of people just have, you know, issues with confrontation, but that's where this saying like there's a way to say everything comes in, because even like the hardest conversation that I feel like I'm going to have with someone, I'm constantly reminding myself, okay, no matter how harsh or uncomfortable this confrontation is, I know there's a way to phrase it that will resonate and make sense. And the best way to do that is to not necessarily point fingers and blame someone, but simply let them know how something is making you feel, and then giving them the autonomy to decide how they want to react to that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so like you have two options. You can either choose to not have that conversation and have it build up as resentment, and every time you see a text from them, you think about it, and every time you see them in person, it's like that little nagging like feeling inside your gut where it's like you have that pit of like anger, but you're not gonna even address it, which is horrible. Or you can choose to bring it to their attention, have that hard conversation, because and then on top of that, buffering, they might not even be aware that they hurt you or wronged you. Like they could have, like Jess's example, they could have no idea. So when you bring it to their attention, you give them the opportunity to step up and be a good friend and have that conversation, and give the friendship the opportunity to grow from there.
Yeah, and it's like I feel like this kind of happens, you know, the first time you have that hard conversation, it's kind of like the most uncomfortable. Yeah. And like a lot of people choose to run from that. And I feel like that's what she did and which is crazy because like she's the one who chose to end the friendship after like we called her out for being a shitty friend because she felt wronged by us telling her that she was a shitty friend.
It's awkward. It is awkward.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's what people get scared of, is they're like, you know, friendships are supposed to be good and funny and laughter and all good. Yeah. And then you don't really want to take away from that. It becomes awkward. It's unpeeling like a different level of the relationship. And especially like you said, the first time is the hardest because you're like, oh God, I don't want this person to see me in a negative way. Mm-hmm. And I don't want them to know that I'm seeing them in a negative way. But like I said, there's a way to say everything.
Yeah. And we even spoke about a situation with like our friend group, you know, a few months ago where we had, I think it was like actually like almost like a year ago, mm-hmm. but we were planning a trip, everyone, and like we were just not seeing eye to eye, and it turned into like, you know, a little bit of like a heated discussion, and then everyone tried to cancel the trip, and me and Olivia were like, what the fuck? No, like, let's just talk, like, let's hash this out. Like, what's everyone's issue? So me and Liv ended up calling every friend in the group chat, and we're like, hey, just making sure we're good. Like, let's still, this is where we're feeling, we understand how you're feeling. Let's just, like, figure it out instead of like canceling the trip, because it's like, that's,
doing
that's
a disservice to everyone.
To our friendship. Yeah. It's like, we can get through a difficult conversation and still, like, have fun and friendship and laughter and joy here. Like, it doesn't need to be this, like, catastrophic thing to our friendship.
Yeah, and like, life is complicated and messy, and things are bound to happen. Like, it's inevitable. Like, it's not, there's always going to be something where you don't see eye to eye with a friend. And like, obviously it's like, within context, you don't want to bring up like, oh, I'm pissed that you whatever, something small, and like, we're not telling you guys to be like petty, obviously, but if it's something significant, and it's, for me, it's one of those things I take inventory of. Like, at first I might not even think it's significant enough to bring up, but then if I notice that it's kind of coming up in my subconscious, and like, honestly, it's just like tuning into your gut and seeing like, is this bothering me? Am I holding on to it? Is it just taking up space in my mind? And at that point, I will not let anything take up space in my mind. Like, I simply refuse at this point in my life. And like, it's not happening. If I have something on my heart, I'm going to communicate it with that person. And it's kind of like up to them to either take it or to not, but I'm not going to hold on to it, because that's not mine to hold on to.
Yeah, and I think that it really is and like, why I'm at peace with my whole situation, and honestly allowing that person to walk away, because even after like they like left the chat and I came back and was like, oh, what's the issue? They were like, yeah, just like, I don't vibe with this anymore. Guys, I never responded. I was like, all right, well, like, that's how you feel. I still feel strongly about how I feel. And I was like really disappointed with the way it was handled. I was disappointed that, they didn't come forward sooner and communicate. So I never responded, and I feel at peace with that, because I released that friendship. Like, I realized that, we allowed you this grace for the last 1 to 2 years of kind of, falling off in our friendship and not feeling, like it was super aligned, but allowed you that space. And, when we finally did bring it up, this is how you've chosen to deal with it, and you'd rather not be my friend. I'm not going to beg for your friendship, and I'm not going to beg for you to stay in my life because you can't have a hard conversation. So, and even, the other day, one of my friends did something that like made me semi uncomfortable, and it's like a me thing, because like, I'm super anal about certain things in my life, and I'm like extremely chill about other things. And like, Olivia knows this, like I can be very weird with like certain things in my life. I don't necessarily know where it stems from, but it does. And I brought it to my friend's attention, and I was like, hey, I I told you that, you can do whatever, but they did something that like, didn't really vibe with me. And I texted them about it, and she called me immediately and was like, I'm so sorry that like I made you any sort of uncomfortable. Like, I'm letting you know right now, like, I'm, if you have any anxiety, like, I want to, put it to rest. And like, just instead of them like pointing the finger back at me
or gaslighting
me or being like, well, you said I could do whatever I wanted. They were like, I still should have asked. I'm so sorry. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, and like, I just realized like, that's the type of fucking friend that I want in my life, that like gives me the benefit of the doubt, knows that I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, and like hashes it out immediately, instead of it being this like passive aggressive, like whole texting situation, like, just hashing it out like adults. And it takes 2 seconds, and both of us being like, ending it being like, I love you so much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, just kind of having that conversation just made me realize like how different the two are, and what I do want in my life, and the type of friendships that I want.
Yeah, I mean, I think to like even summarize that, like, just having like choosing friends who have emotional intelligence is super fucking important. You know, like, I don't want it. It's not like, oh, are you smart or are you not? It's just like, are you emotionally intelligent? Do you understand like what's really important? Do you understand the nuances that goes on between a friendship and building out a friendship, and really like kind of cultivating that and nurturing it? It's just so important. And I think as we get older, it's like my standard for emotional intelligence is getting higher and higher. I'm like, if I'm outgrowing, and it's okay to outgrow people too, but if it's like, if I'm outgrowing you in those ways, maybe we're not like the best fit as friends anymore. And, you know, some people are meant to be in your life for just a season or two, and that's totally okay.
And, you know, you can also have friends that don't meet, again, your emotional intelligence level or whatever that standard is in your life. But that also means that, again, bringing it back to the beginning of this topic, like you can choose in what capacity you want them in your life. Like maybe you kind of scale back from hanging out once or twice every week to once a month and catching up with them. Like,
like what the friendship looks like can kind of just like pivot, change, mold into different things as you enter different seasons of your life.
Yeah, and I have friends that like I love and adore so much, but I know if they were like my best friend, we probably wouldn't be friends because I can't handle them in like that sort of capacity, and that's fine. Like I'm sure so many people like feel that way about me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm even thinking like there's friends in my life who I absolutely love and adore, and I think so highly of. And like if it were up to me, we would spend more time together, but we just don't. And our friendship is kind of like almost just like internet based and supporting each other from afar. And that's totally fine too, you know, like you kind of just have to meet people where they're at when it comes to that. So for me, I wrote out some non-negotiables. I don't really have a huge list because I feel like, I don't know, a lot of them I'm just like, yeah, it might be common sense for me and I might not even like be cognizant enough of it to like take inventory of it. But my first one is no flaky friends. And, you know, that goes without, you have to have grace with people. And like there are certain situations where I totally understand. Like if we have plans to go out and you're like, hey, I am so sorry to cancel last minute, but like my mental health isn't doing well. And I think what would serve me best is staying in tonight. 100% you do you. Like I feel that. But when someone has a pattern of being inconsistent and they're consistently inconsistent, I have zero tolerance for that. Like especially like when you're a busy person, and everyone's time is so valuable. So like, you know, whether you're busy or not busy, it's like you should just be respectful of people's time in general. And that's what, like for me, it's deeper than just like cancel. Oh, I just canceled. It's like, no, a time is super valuable and you don't want to like waste someone's time, and they could have planned accordingly and they could have had other plans for that night. So it's just super rude and inconsiderate to just be flaky, especially if it's something that happens like multiple times, one after the other. No patience for it. Like, love you, but we're not going to make plans anymore.
Yeah. And I think it also just kind of boils down to like them not respecting your time and like also your friendship. It's like, bitch, if I'm going out of my way to like make plans with you, like that's such a big deal for me and us. Like if we're carving out that time, that like really means that we value you and your friendship and your time. So it's like we would only expect that in return.
Yeah, because trust me, bestie, I want to stay at home on my couch too in my PJs. And if I'm getting my ass up out of bed, it's because like I care more about nurturing this friendship and seeing you and catching up and having that time together than I do about being lazy and sitting on my couch, which I actually
is a lot.
Which I really want to do and probably would prefer. But then I know after leaving a meetup with a friend that I love, I like feel so like inspired and fun and happy. And, you know, it does
fill your cup.
It does fill your cup as long as that friend fills your cup.
I kind of went over this in the episode, but obviously like communicating, even when it's hard, is really a non-negotiable for at least like my really close friendships, or also at the very least being receptive to it. Because not everyone will like engage in like, you know, initiate the hard conversation, but and honestly, most of our friends won't initiate the hard conversation, but as long as they can be receptive to when we do, I think that that's, you know, all you could really ask for.
Yeah, and the same goes for me. Like, just no holding grudges. If you're feeling some type of way, I 100% expect you to communicate it like an adult. And that's not meant to, I know communicating isn't just so easy for everyone. So I want this, you know, conversation to inspire you guys. Like, if you feel like you could be that person on the other end who is avoiding the confrontation or is holding on to grudges because you feel too uncomfortable to try to communicate, this is your sign to like step into that uncomfort and take it as an opportunity for growth, because I know it's hard. It really is hard. And especially if you know, had an upbringing where when you did choose to communicate, it just wasn't well received. Like, you know, some people are just scared of that confrontation, and I do understand that, but I hope this pushes you guys to try to push yourself outside of that comfort zone, because it really makes relationships in your life so much more fulfilling and deeper. And once you are over those hard conversations, they almost always end with like an I love you and thank you for hearing me and thank you for making me feel seen, which is such a good feeling.
It really does like deepen your relationships so much. Like, and one thing we've even said about like actual relationships, like romantic relationships, is like you guys shouldn't be moving in together if you haven't had like hard conversations and like fights, because fights are really when you get to see someone's like true character in these in a different way, and you can kind of go from there and decide if that's like what you're willing to put up with.
Like a lot of times when a friend will be like, oh, I'm dating a new person, I'll be like, oh, cool. Have you guys had your first fight yet? Like, that's the first thing I ask, and they'll be like, yeah. I'm like, okay, great. Like, I need to know if you guys have gotten in your first fight yet and how it was resolved, because that's what's important. Like, it's not important. All the butterflies and rainbows and shit, that's not what's important. I need to know if you guys fought, how it was resolved, how he communicated, like, or she. Give me, those are the juicy details I care about. Like, when I hear someone is fighting, I'm like, perfect. Fight. Because that's what a relationship is. That's what life is. You have to fight. You have to get over it.
Another non-negotiable for me is if a friend has like pretty consistent negative self-talk.
That's a big red flag for Jess.
I hate negative self-talk. And, like, I mean, I get it. We all like, think kind of lowly of ourselves every once in a while. I do it too, but don't fucking like put it out there and like keep your negative self-talk to yourself, unless like, you have something that you really need to vent about. But like people that are just consistently like talking down about themselves or like their figure or, whatever they're going through in life, I'm just like, we're just not excuses sort of people. And it's like, okay, cool. You feel like shit about, whatever it is you're going through, like your skin. All right, I don't want to hear you just complain about your skin. Let's fucking get you on a plan. Let's go see a dermatologist.
Let's be solution oriented.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing, is that people have to be solution oriented.
And also, I think it goes back to just having emotional intelligence and realizing that like anything that comes out of your mouth and even your energetic field, if it's negative, you are putting that negative energy to whoever else is around you. So like, yeah, if I show up and Jess is in a gray mood and I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. Oh, my skin is so horrible right now. Oh, Tyler's being so like, that is all negative energy being put onto the other person. So it's like, that's like, you're going to leave hanging out with that friend and be like, all right, well now I feel negative. Mm-hmm. So I think that's just something really important to consider and make sure like you're not being that person to your friends, and also taking inventory. Like if you're with someone who is constantly doing that, it's one thing, like she said, to need to vent and be like, hey, I'm like going through it right now. I really need to have a talk. But just to like, have that be like a normal conversation, I think it just like isn't ideal. For me, a huge non-negotiable is just like not feeling like obligated or feeling like I'm going to be guilt tripped for not spending time with someone. I personally don't have friends like this in my life, but I have friends who have shared stories about their friends who will just make them feel so guilty for not spending time with them.
Really?
And it's like, yeah, it's totally a thing where it's like, oh, well, the whole spiel of like, well, I really need this right now. Just like needy friends in general. Everyone is so busy. Everyone is just trying to keep their heads above water. Like you have to remember that everyone is living their own lives and no one owes you their time. So like, it's not fair to anyone to expect that or feel entitled to someone's time.
Oh, big time. I didn't even know that was a thing. I can't deal with my friends that have shitty friends. Like, I hate hearing about like, oh my God, my friend did this today. My friend did that today. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. Why are you fucking friends with them?
Yeah.
And, the same goes for like relationships. Like if they're always bitching about like their relationship or their friendship, I'm like, one, this is a massive red flag on your end that you're like
tolerating it,
continuing to allow this kind of behavior, or like, why are we even talking about this? Like you can control who you're friends with. And it doesn't have to be this crazy, huge friend breakup. But like, hey, maybe some distance would do you some good. Like, I hate hearing about my friends' shitty friends.
Yeah. And again, I think it's different if someone's coming to confide in you.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, I have this situation with this friend. I would love your advice. But like to just complain with no course of action, it's like, I don't got time. I don't got a time or like emotional stamina for that.
And it's almost like, okay, let's look at our friendship. How great is our friendship, right? Like, we have a great friendship. Why are you choosing to have friendships that are any less like a positive effect on your life than this? You know what I mean? Like, there's people out there who will you will vibe with and who will like support you and who you'll feel like light with and who you'll feel joy with. And it's like, why are we accepting anything less than that?
We're too old for shitty friends. I think that was the title of our previous episode.
Oh my God, I forgot that we like have talked about shitty friends before.
Yeah, we deep dove. And it was more so like we were at a time in our lives where we had just broken up with like a third best friend of ours. So we were like just fresh off a really big friend breakup. So yeah, if you guys want to hear more about this, go back to that episode. It's called
We're Too Old for Shitty Friends.
Old for Shitty Friends.
That's like season 1 type shit. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But we hope that this was helpful in any sort of way. You know, growing older and navigating older friendships and newer friendships is not an easy thing, but it is like having real, like fulfilling friendships in your life it's
such a pillar in a healthy, fulfilled life.
Yeah, like
it's very
it
important.
Brings like my friends bring me so much joy, and it's because like I've had hard conversations with them. It's because I feel seen. It's because I feel heard, and it's because they feel seen and heard. And you got to get comfortable with those hard conversations.
Yeah. And if you're listening to this and this whole episode, you've been thinking about that one person and it's resonating with you because you're thinking about that one friend that you really should say something to, that you've been holding a grudge, or, you know, you're holding on to something that isn't serving your highest self, then this is your sign to reach out to them, to squash the beef, and to go on in 2023 with zero beef.
Zero beef.
Releasing anything that is not serving you in 2023, leaving it in 2022, and just moving on to only fulfilling and fun friendships.
Period.
Bars.
Love you, brothers. I hope you have an amazing week. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please take a screenshot, share it to your Instagram story. And if you feel inspired, please leave a review. And we love you guys so much.
Love you, brothers. See you next time.